Welcome to the STONED Roadie Show, the Craig Reed STONED Roadie Show. Of course, Craig Reed is the most famous roadie in rock and roll history, most self-acclaimed famous roadie in rock and roll history. If not that, definitely the most stoned roadie in rock and roll history. Today, we have a special guest on the STONED Roadie Show, Mark Howard. Mark Howard is a Lynyrd Skynyrd superlative that we've got on the show. Thank you for coming, Mark. He was a lighting guy with the band in the 70s and traveled around with them in the Convair 240 and was on the plane when it went down in Galesburg, Mississippi. And so we're going to have a little chat with Mark. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the plane, and not a whole lot about the plane, but we're going to talk about some of the things that happened during the crash and after the crash. And if you want to see a very good version of what happened, go to Mark Howard's YouTube channel, and he's got it on there. It's a really great long story about it. Mark, how you doing this evening? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, man. Howdy there.
Mark has a good YouTube channel where he passes out of a bag and tells stories about all these bands that he worked with. You still doing that, Mark?
I am. I've just been getting lazy lately, and I haven't done it lately. Actually, there's a program, editing program that used to be free. Now they want money for it, so I'm waiting. I'm trying to find a different free editing program that I can use. But yeah, I still do it.
Yeah, they try to get you hooked on things, and then once they get you hooked, they throw that fee on you.
Yeah, that financial obligation.
So Mark, when was it that you started with Lynyrd Skynyrd? Not exact date or anything, but how did you get started with them? And to your best of your recollection, when was that?
Probably September, maybe, or August. No, September or October of '77. We just got off the Peter Frampton tour. I worked for a lighting company called Clearlight. It was owned by Ron Eckerman and his brother Rodney. And at the time, Rodney was Peter Frampton's road manager, and Ronnie was Skynyrd's road manager. So we went on just right after the Frampton tour ended. We got the Skynyrd account, and I think Ronnie had been working on it a while, but they finally got that account, and then we went out with that because the Frampton tour was over. And that's when I started. And when they picked up the plane, they got the plane, and it's been so long ago. I wish I could remember better. I don't remember because the plane was Falcon Airways out of Dallas. So, now that I'm thinking about it, they could have started in Dallas with the Shoko guys, came to Houston and picked us up. And then we went to Jacksonville to pick the band up. And then we went somewhere else. So, and I don't remember the first show we started, but yeah, that was 45, I don't remember how many years ago it was. It was a long time ago, 1977. So would that be 45 years ago?
Yeah, it will be in October.
Okay, yeah.
When you got on the plane, did you have any animosities about it then? Did it seem like everything was working right on it, or?
Yeah, everything was fine. Yeah, everything was, I thought it was cool, man.
Just as long as it had fuel in it, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's something I wasn't in charge of. And if I had been, I'd have probably done the same thing. I don't know.
So when you first hooked up with Skynyrd, what was it like hanging out with those guys? And do you recall anybody in the band that you got along with better than anybody else, or what was it like working for the Ronnie?
Well, it was cool. I think I got along with Leon better than anybody. Leon seems to pay more attention to me than anybody else. You know, and you gotta, when you're on the road, man, you're busy. And a lot of people think, well, it's well backstage partying and click, click, nicky chicks, man, and all that, but you're working, you know. But the only time you get to see anybody is like traveling on the plane. And I was always in the back playing poker. So I didn't even go in the middle of the plane. I didn't go in the front of the plane. I stayed in the back and I just kind of played poker. And that was it. It wasn't because I'm a poker fiend. I don't even play poker now. It was just, I don't know. I guess I was nervous being around all these hot shots, you know?
Whenever the guys were out on the road, and like with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and you were with them, were you like, in your mind, did Lynyrd Skynyrd seem like a really good band and that a lot of people loved them? And were you like infatuated with their music pretty good? Did you think that they had a great presence?
You want the truth?
Yeah. That's what we're all about, the truth.
Okay, man. I'm going to tell you the truth. I wasn't a fan, you know, and it wasn't that I just wasn't into their music like everybody else was. And I mean everybody else, because it was so incredible being on the side of the stage, because, you know, we hung out what they call dimmer beach. It was the lighting dimmers was on one side, and of course the sound pukes are on the other side. And so you hang out right there on the side of the stage, and there was so much energy when they were playing. You could just feel it in the air, and the crowd, you know, it was just, I can't describe how much energy there was. But to me, it was overwhelming. And they played and they played and they played. And then I say I wasn't a fan. You know, we always, back then the equipment was not what it is today. I mean, stuff broke a lot, you know, so you were constantly paying attention to what's going on with the equipment and not really worrying about the music. You weren't there to listen to a concert. We were there to work, and we did. But it was like they played on and on and on, and we're like, goodness, will you end that friggin' song so we can go to work? You know. Yeah, and it would just every song seemed to go on and on and on to me. And I don't know what everybody else thought, but to me, it was like I wasn't a fan. I am now. It's now, you know, now that I can pay attention to the music. Yes, I'm a big fan now. Not of all of it. Most of it I don't really care for, but there's a lot of it I deeply care for, you know. So
who were some of the bands that you worked with before Skynyrd?
Well, man, I think
we know Peter Frampton's one of them.
Yeah, Peter Frampton.
Did you have much interaction with Peter Frampton on a personal level?
Yeah. Frampton was very, very cool dude. Very nice guy. I mean, just a sweetheart of a guy, man. Very generous and nice, fun to be around, you know. But and then again too, we're working there as well. You know, it's not like you get to hang out with the band, and because we definitely with Frampton, we traveled in different. We didn't travel on the same vehicle until the crew used his plane one time because I got thrown in jail in Houston, and they had to wait on the rigger, so they had to get the rigger out of jail, which was me. And then we used Frampton's plane to get to the next city because we didn't have time to take a bus or whatever, you know, have a bus come get us. anyway, we never got to use the airplane again after that because we kind of messed it up. But
I think that story might be on your channel.
it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah. So those of you that want to know, it's called True Backstage and Road Stories. And I'm sorry if I'm throwing that plug in on you, but
No, it's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's great. I've listened. I've heard quite a few of them, if not all of them, and they're all great, really great stories.
thank you.
Check it out.
They're all, stupid stuff we got away with when we when we were on the road. Back then I called us glorified carnies. That's all we were.
So when you I guess what I've found is that when you guys got to Lakeland is when you started noticing trouble with the plane. And I think that's when you were talking about on your channel, when you started seeing the flames coming out of it. And we're not going to go into a big detail over that because we don't need to go through that extensively. You were playing poker, and usually Ronnie's playing poker back there with you guys, but this time he was up there getting some sleep, right?
Yeah, but see, I don't remember Ronnie being back there a lot. I remember one time specifically, but I don't remember Ronnie being back there playing poker with us a lot.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe I had to been there, because that's the only place I said. Like I said, I think I was nervous about being around everybody. So, but not saying he wasn't there. I remember like the one time. But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. I just trying to think how many times I saw him back there. I just didn't see him back there a lot.
Yeah, and so then the engine started having some issues with it. And of course, in my mind, when I think about if I'm about to have an accident, like somebody's about to T-bone me, and that's a very scary time. And when I think about that, I think you guys had that in your head for several minutes, probably almost 5 minutes, when those engines quit. Maybe not that long, but that has to be one heck of a rush. And then when you guys started going into the trees, and I don't think you remember anything about that too much, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I remember going into the trees, very well, because I'm sitting right next to the window, but I'm facing the back of the plane, and I remember the trees getting closer and closer and closer until they started making noises.
How long a time did that take? Once the engines, was it like seemed like
forever.
Yeah.
To me, it seemed like forever, but it was only a very short time, And then when the right engine quit, everybody just kind of like, wow, there goes that engine. And it's another short time before the second one quit. And then that's when ARTIMUS came back and said, man, we're going down. Well, he came back and said, well, we lost an engine. And we're like, yeah, I know, we can see that. And he came back and he said, hey man, we lost the other engine, we're going down, buckle up. So I was like, oh my God. I looked at Steve Lawler, and I probably have this on my channel too, so sorry if I'm being repetitive. But I told Steve, I said, man, I don't think I've ever been this scared in my life. He said, me neither. So that's pretty much when we started hitting the trees. And it sounded just like a bunch of baseball bats hitting the airplane. And then we crashed, and I was knocked unconscious. And my hero, Jamie Wall, who was one of the first responders, came to the rescue. I think Dwayne Easley was the first one on site. So that's what I hear. And Jamie had a Hatchet, and he still has the Hatchet to this day. And he's so cool, man. And this Hatchet, he said, man, he said, I used this Hatchet to cut you out of the airplane. And I was like, really? He said, yeah, man. He said, I had to cut cables, hoses, all kind of stuff. He said, I could reach in there and I could touch your face. He said, man, he said, there was somebody in there. He said, but, and of course I was unconscious at the time. And then once he cut all the cables and everything, he had to cut the hole at the top of the airplane, I think bigger, to get me out of it. Because I see he could reach his hand and touch me, my face. He said he could touch my face. And then I had a broken collarbone. And when they tried to lift me up out of the plane, it woke me up. It hurt so bad, I just screamed. And he said, man, calm down, man. We'll get you out of here, man. He said, just hang on, man, hang on. We'll get you out of here. And then, of course, I passed out again. And when I woke up again, I was in the hospital in Jackson, Mississippi, because they couldn't treat me in Macomb. So they flew me with the band guys over to Jackson. And I woke up, I think, 3 days later. And then my brother and a friend of mine, one of my high school buddies, came to see me in the hospital. And they got me a pass to go back down to the crash site to go and recover some of my stuff from my luggage. Of course, our luggage had been pilfered through by many people. So there wasn't a lot left of your personal belongings. There was a room, one of the motels, I don't even remember which motel it was. They had, it was just all the bags were just kind of thrown in this big room. You just kind of had to go pick your stuff out. Anyway, I went down and they were going to take me to the crash site itself. And we get to the highway and we're going to turn down, I forget the number of the road, to go there. And I said, man, I can't do it. And I couldn't. I said, man, y'all got to take me back to the hospital. And I probably told them I didn't feel well or something. It was too freaky, too soon. And then it's like 11 days after the crash. Of course, I'm still in the hospital, but then I had to fly back to Houston. Of course, my dad was there. My dad came to see me too. And he's like, one of them old hard guys. He's, boy, you better get back on that plane.
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think he would have been all right if you said, no, I don't think I'm going to do that, Dad.
Yeah, probably. He'd have made me feel. Yeah, he probably would have said, okay, well, if you don't want to, you don't want to, but I think he would have been disappointed in me.
Well, you did it anyway, though, huh? So.
I did. Flew back to Houston, and I was okay. And then I started gaining weight. Man, I must have gained 35 pounds. And my body started retaining fluids, kind of like now my fat face. I just started getting really big and really big. And so something was wrong. So I went back to the hospital. I think I went back in the hospital Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or something. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They just said, you're retaining fluids and we don't know why. And I had these massive headaches because I had a really bad head injury. And these headaches were unbearable. But then everything went away. All the weight fell off, and went off, and my headaches went away. But I don't know what else to tell you.
And you, of course, you started having issues with the hips, and
yes,
and
yeah. Well, the doctor said that the trauma from the plane crash probably caused my hips to degenerate, and they didn't happen right during the crash, but it was a progressive thing that went on. Then I've had to have 17 hip replacements. They would get infected or they would get loose. And of course, it probably would have helped if I'd followed the doctor's orders a little closer. but you know.
I remember you telling me, because I have a little, we both have had similar, of course, me, nothing compared to you, but I've had hip surgery myself and blunt force trauma. And I experienced the same thing as far as delayed, effects from my accident. My hip later on started having issues, but they actually removed your hips and put you in a wheelchair without hips for some period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they were both. I was having trouble and it just kept hurting me so bad I couldn't walk. And I just had 2 hip replacements. Actually, I just had 3 of them because one of them I had to redo because the wire that goes around the bone slipped down. So they went ahead and go back and do it again, like 6 weeks later, I think. Anyway, they got infected. And when they get infected, they have to take them out and leave them out. So both of mine were infected and they took both of them out during the same operation and left them out, left me in a wheelchair, made me some wicked braces that tied into my shoes to where it hold the cheeks of my butt up so I could stand up to go to the bathroom. And then my dad, he owned the machine shop and he figures out this way to hang a triangle and where I could lift myself all out of my wheelchair, and it had just enough of an angle on it where I could roll myself over into the shower in the shower chair and give myself a shower. But I went a lot of places with no hips and in the wheelchair. I would fold it up, put it in the back of my Volkswagen and go, go rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I tell you, you and Gene Odom and, you guys are an inspiration to me as far as you guys are some tough guys. A lot of people don't realize that people that were on that plane and the things that they went through, and they just kind of like blow it off like it's no big deal. But, you guys every one of you guys that were on that plane, I admire you guys, really tough. So you went back to work after that, after getting your hips. I know you've got a pretty bad limp, but it had to be kind of hard to go back to work, right?
Well, the first time, yes, because if you don't mind me telling this story, I probably already told it on my channel, but anyway, the first people we went out with was Steve Lawler and myself. Steve was the guy sitting across from the plane from me. And he and I go out with Willie. And so we're with Bud Rock and Pootie in this step van with the equipment. And we got a few lights. So anyway, we have their equipment and we break down in slide L, blew a head gasket. So they're like, well, we got to get to Florida. We're on our way to Florida from Houston. And so after we blew the head gasket, they said, well, we got to get to Florida. The show's got to go on. So somebody hooks up for us to go to the airport and get on an airplane and take the equipment to Florida via airplane. So we go to the airport and we go out to the runway, and there's the exact type of plane we just got through crashing on. There's a Convair 240 sitting there ready to go, man. Got the propellers going, waiting on us. Steve and I are looking at each other. We're like, nah, I don't think so. So, but once again, yeah, show must go on. So we got on. And we went to Florida in the Convair 240 that we just got through crashing on maybe 4 months earlier, 5 months earlier.
Did it seem the same as far as the shape it was in, or was it a better plane? Or
I think it was more of a commercial type plane, I think. Man, I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Well,
I don't remember, to be honest. But I think it was more suited for commercial passengers as opposed to having a couch up front, and poker table in the back and all that.
Right. Well, you're probably glad to get off of it once
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, but once you're up there, what are you going to do? Yeah, you just
I hope you're not going to run out of fuel.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride.
So let's talk a little bit about the monument and those guys that you got to go back and meet all those guys that got you out of that plane. And what was it like when you first met them? When was it that you met them? Was it the same time that I met you when they had the monument unveiling?
No.
You met them before that, right?
I think it was a year before that. Yeah, because actually this was Mark Frank, who is another survivor and a friend of mine in years, called me and asked me if I would come and meet the first responders. And I didn't know what to think. I hadn't talked to Mark 40 years. Yeah. So I didn't know what to think. So my girlfriend and I were coming from she rode with me to this job site. Had to go check on something because I was doing safety back then. So anyway, so Mark calls me in. So we talked about it. My girlfriend and I talked about it. I went, okay. I called him back. Said, okay, we'll go. And I'm so glad because I got to meet the first responders. And then when I remember pulling in there, it was so weird because we drove from Houston in my truck, and then I pull into this gas station, a little store / gas station. It's like an old country store. And there's a red convertible with this guy with dreadlocks, and then this other guy. And I said, hey, man, y'all know anything about where this Lynyrd Skynyrd crashed at? And Mark Frank goes, you're Mark Howard. I said, what? How do you know, man? He said, I recognize your voice. Sorry, man, I'm getting cramps in my legs. Sorry, hang on a second. Anyway, he said, yeah, he said, I recognize your voice from the phone call we had. I'll be there. He said, come on, man. So we hugged, of course, and I met Julian. And Julian, what a great guy.
Yeah, and congratulations, Julian. If you're listening, we know you just got married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, congratulations. And I still think she's too good for you. Just saying.
He's the guy with the dreadlocks.
Yeah.
You don't have them anymore, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. He got rid of them, I think. But anyway, so we went down there, and then I followed them into the site. Dwayne Easley owns the property that the monument's on, and he's got a pavilion that is so cool. It used to be like a little campground, you know, it's got showers and
yeah, it is awesome.
Really cool. It's bad to the bone. And a lot of people show up there for the time of year when we crashed. Anyway, so when I met them, it was so cool that I met Jamie for the first, I mean, he had tears in his eyes. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, that really hit me hard to see that. And seeing Dwayne, you know, I met these first responders, first time I've seen these guys in 40 years. But it was so nice, and they were so hospitable and so laid back and countrified. It was just a great, great meeting with them. I don't know what else to say. It was awesome.
Yeah, and they've done a lot too with that monument, and it's like the best monument I've ever seen. You know, I mean,
me too.
It is just awesome.
Better Rushmore, man.
Yeah, if you haven't been there, you have to get in your car and go there, because just like Mark said, it's not what you would see in pictures. You have to experience it. And those guys took a lot of effort to put that together. And it's really, I think, probably one of the best monuments of any monument. But of course, Lynyrd Skynyrd. And they just recently put another monument there with the rest of the survivors on there, not just the band members. So have you been there to see that yet?
I have not seen the new with our names on it, but that was really, really cool of them to do that. They put everybody that was on the plane, they put their names in granite, you know, on this little stone on the path. There's a path that goes behind the monument, and it's on that path. And that was really cool. My only complaint was I told them that they shouldn't put the band's names first. Their names are all over the monument. We don't need to see their names first.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You need to put like Craig Reed first, Mark Frank first, Craig Reed, and then everybody else, and then the band. You know.
Well, at least you guys made it on there, and
yeah, no, I'm just kidding, man.
I think there's some question about there's one person that they haven't been able to find. I don't know who that. Craig keeps talking about this mystery person that he's never met or something. You know who that is?
Well, you know, I don't. I remember him asking me, but I forgot the guy's name now. I can't remember.
Yeah, me too. And Craig's gonna kill me.
Man, who was that guy? I remember the name, but I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a rumor he was an FBI agent, you know, and he was spying on the band.
What? Really?
Might not have heard that one.
No, I didn't hear that one. You have to talk to Gene about all that.
Yeah, Gene would know. Gene would know. So what was it like when you held that hatchet in your hand, that hatchet that he used to chop you out of that plane with?
Yeah, it had some significance, you know. I mean, yeah, it wasn't like it was a magic wand, but had some definite significance to it. It was nice. I didn't know all this was going on until, you know, that time we met him. And it's just, the whole thing is so cool that in October, and I also recommend that people, like you did, recommend people go see this monument. It's absolutely fantastic. It's and then I got to give a shout out to my buddy, Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel his brother was a first responder, Bobby, but Mike was too young. I remember him telling us that he rode his bicycle down to the site, and he said it was too much for him. He couldn't handle it, man. It was just so much going on, and it's just too much. But I am very good friends with Mike. I love him, man. And this guy, he takes care of that monument.
Yeah, he
like
does.
His child. This guy, hey, you've got to get to know Mike McDaniel, because he's the funniest guy I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I've been around him. I've been around him some, and he's definitely a unique individual. Really hilarious guy.
He is, man. Oh God, we probably text each other, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week. So I can't wait to get back and see him.
Yeah. So you think you might make it there in October? So if some people get there, maybe if you're there, they'll get to meet you, you know?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to start a GoFundMe page so I can have gas money.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
The GoFundMe gas money to get the Gillsburg is what we need. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's Craig and I's feeling that, you know, that the people on the plane were kind of like forgotten, you know, and you know, of course, we love Lynyrd Skynyrd and the music and the present Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we don't think, you know, that it's a vindictive thing in any way that you guys were forgotten. I think that the guys were forgotten, and you know, it's never too late to do something about it. And so you know, Craig and I were looking at ways to try to get some funds together and help these guys out, just like Mark. You know, Mark has gone through a lot of surgeries, and Mark Frank, you know, and Paul Welch, these guys. You know, these guys have really struggled, and Gene Odom, and, you know, I've met all these guys, and I know I've seen what they've been through. And so, yeah, you know, so whenever you see something come up, you know, take a look at it, and if you get a chance, give to it. And so as soon as we put something together, we'll be announcing it. But Mark, we really appreciate you joining the show here and taking the time and talking about the plane. And I know that's kind of hard to do. We don't want to get into it too much, but you're very knowledgeable about everything that went on there, and every story adds to the one big story and kind of clears things up. What are you up to these days?
Well, here back to 2012 to 15, I went back to school, went back to college, and I got my master's degree in occupational health and safety. So I was doing safety for a while, and then I wanted to do safety in the entertainment business, but nobody in the entertainment business wants any safety. So it was real hard to do. And anyway, long story.
You know what I'd like to see, I don't know if you'd be able to do that, but I one time saw a guy who climbed Mount Everest, and you know, they have all these safety days at these big places where I used to work, like Boeing and Lockheed, and they would have a guest speaker, and that guy would travel around to all these different facilities, and they made quite a bit of money. I don't know if you'd be into anything like that, but you'd definitely be a good story and a safety advocate at that. So
I would be happy to do that.
I could probably hook you up with something like that.
Brother up, man.
I'll hook you up, man.
So, if you're not in a hurry, I know you may be on a schedule, I don't know, but I wanted to tell a story about Skynyrd and Frampton. Can I tell it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. If we run out of time.
Oh yeah, I forgot that time thing. Okay.
Go ahead. If we run out, we'll come back up. So go ahead and tell it.
So Peter Frampton had two backup singers, and they were Dale and Maddie. And I was told they were sisters. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's my sister or my brother. Hey, it's my brother, you know, hey, bro. But anyway, so Dale and Maddie were Frampton's backup singers. Well, after a while, guess who Dale is? Dale's Gary Rossington's wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the Dale that was Frampton's backup singer, and then became.
I didn't know that. Well, you know, Gary, he likes to watch the Stoned Roadie show. I think he likes to laugh at Craig. Yeah, he likes to laugh at Craig. So he's probably listening. And Dale is cool.
Hey, Dale. Hey, and Dale and Maddie, I had hurt my elbow or something. Anyway, they put me in an emergency room and Dale and Maddie went out of their way to come see me in the hospital. I'll never forget that. It was so cool, man. And I remember trying to tell her who I was at some show in Houston they were at. But of course, it was so loud backstage. She's like, yeah, listening to me going, yeah, okay, whatever you said, you know. I'm sure she didn't hear a word I said, but anyway.
Yeah, I got to meet Dale. She won't remember me, but Johnny Van Zant, what a great guy he is. He got me backstage, and I knew his mother-in-law, Susan, who's since passed, and she was a great friend of mine. And but yeah, it's a small world.
Yeah, very much.
All right, Mark. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on, and we appreciate it. And everybody, you guys go watch Mark's YouTube channel. He's got a lot of great road stories. And
backstage and road stories.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some more great guests on, just like Mark. So we appreciate you coming on, Mark, and you guys stay tuned for the next Stoned Roadie show. We're gonna get Craig Reed back on here acting silly. So thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you for having me very much, y'all. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Enjoy. Thanks, Griff.
We'll see you next time.